The Skinny on how to transition to fat loss successfully. There are 4 main reasons for weight gain. Which of these do you struggle with the most? Overeating on carbs? Emotional eating? Yo-yo dieting? Or lack of exercise? I've got to confess, I struggled with all 4 of these. Hello, I'm Deborah Rossouw. I'm the founder of ALIVE.vc, and I'm a well-being coach. And my intention with this 3-part video series is to help you get back into your skinny jeans. So I'm going to share with you some fundamentals, the fuel fundamentals on this video. But before we go on, have you watched video 1? In video 1, we covered 3 steps that you can take to help yourself get into your skinny jeans. And if you've missed video 1, I would suggest you stop this video right now and actually do video 1 first, so you get the foundation on which we're going to build now in video 2. So let's look at the fuel fundamentals for your body. Now, all of us know that there are 3 ways we can fuel our body. With food, our own muscle tissue, not a good idea, and then our own body fat. Which one would you prefer to use? Yes, of course, body fat. But we need to know about fundamentals of food, as well as how to establish the right conditions so that we can succeed in fat loss. And notice I'm saying fat loss, not weight loss. There's a huge difference. So we all know that there are some fundamentals around food that we need to know about. Our bodies are fueled with protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Now, you know as well as I do that the protein is our basic building block, and it is for the growth of all of our cells, whether they're blood cells, brain cells, enzymes, antibodies. Everything depends on protein. But something you might not have known is that only 20% of our protein comes from foods. The rest our body produces, which means that we need to get really high quality proteins so that we can actually fuel our bodies the right way, so that the building blocks are in place. So what might be high quality proteins? Well, if you're a meat eater, then you probably would know that it's fish, fowl, eggs, organic meats, and all of them should be free range and not filled with hormones and pesticides and steroids and all those horrible things. If you're vegan, you would already know that you would use spirulina, chlorella. You would also use vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds. Those would be high quality proteins. Now, what about fats? Well, we want to keep our fat ratio in balance. So we want to make sure we're getting enough omega-3 fats balanced against 6 and 9. Now, what might be a good omega-3 fat? Wait a little later and I'll share with you in one of the recipes. What about our carbohydrates? We want to spend a little more time on carbohydrates now. We know that there are 2 kinds of carbohydrate. There's simple carbohydrates that are made of 1 or 2 sugars. That's the chemical structure. And then there are complex carbohydrates that are 3 or more sugars. Let's go back to simple carbohydrates. Within that category, there are 2 kinds that we want to know about. The first is the natural simple carbohydrate. Those are made up of fruits, fructose, as well as honey. Now, those are the good ones. Then there are the refined carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates. Those are our glucose, and those are from starchy foods, and often the manufactured kind, like white flour. You want to avoid that. Let's look at complex carbohydrates. I said there are 2 or 3 sugars. These are where the glucose comes from. And the complex ones would be from grains, rice, pasta, etc. Okay, so now we've got a little bit of a picture of our proteins, our fats, our carbohydrates. Let's now take it one step further, because in video 1 we spoke about carbohydrates and those that are high glycemic or high sugar carbohydrates. And I'll remind you, I said that those carbohydrates that cause glucose to swim around in the body, as we eat more and more high carbohydrate meals, so we elevate glucose in the bloodstream. And when we continuously eat high carb meals, particularly of the complex carbohydrates, as well as some of the simple carbohydrates, what we're doing is we actually are elevating and spiking our insulin levels. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, we know that when we spike our insulin on a continued basis, we actually cause inflammation. So here's what I want to do. I want to share with you the dirt on inflammation. What is inflammation? We know that it's a normal process. Where there is harm to the body is going to send some inflammatory response to compensate. But there are two kinds of inflammation that's important to know about. Acute inflammation has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And generally with acute inflammation, there are signals such as redness and tenderness and swelling and heat and pain. We're not so concerned about that for our purposes. The one we're concerned about and need to be concerned about is chronic inflammation. And we know that chronic inflammation is hidden. It is what is also known as silent inflammation. Because it happens around the internal organs, we can't see them, and often there's no pain. That's what is so insidious about chronic inflammation. Now let's connect the dots. We know that if we're eating high carb meals, that we're spiking our insulin levels, and as a result, that is causing high levels of blood sugar, glucose, to be swimming around and needs to be taken somewhere. So when it is taken into the fat storage places, that also causes inflammation in the body. And that inflammation, the chronic inflammation, is what we want to be careful of. Now, how do we solve this problem? There is a set of hormones called icosanoids. They're not well known. They're the one set of hormones that can actually help you stabilize your insulin so that you don't get inflammation. So how does this complex process work? Well, we have some fatty acids. One of them is gamma-linolenic acid. It converts to dihomo-gamma-linolenic acid, quite a mouthful. And that converts to arachidonic acid. And it is activated by D5D. What is it that connects us to insulin? Well, it is the insulin that activates the D5D that then produces the arachidonic acid, which is the cause of inflammation. So can you see now why it's important to actually keep blood sugar levels low so that we don't actually keep on kicking up and spiking our insulin levels? We need to make sure we don't go into chronic inflammation, that silent inflammation that I spoke of. So how do we make sure that we don't go into that inflammation or that form of inflammation? By limiting our carbohydrates, making sure we keep our blood sugar levels stable and steady. So here's where I'd like to share my 1, 2, 3. The one action that you can take immediately is increase your omega-3 fats. There are 4 benefits you're going to get immediately from that. It's going to reduce your insulin levels, it's going to stabilize your blood sugar, it's going to rev up your metabolism, and it's also going to give you energy. I think that's a bonus. The second thing I want to give you is the 2 recipes. You can go to ALIVE.vc, go to the contact page and indicate to me that you would like the 2 recipes. One is a vegan recipe that I call smoky lentils. Yay, very delicious. And the other is a wild salmon and asparagus recipe. Both of them contain good omega-3 fats. Let me give you the 3 steps that will help you transition today to fat loss naturally. I'm going to give them in the form of a word to give you a ray of hope. The word is RAE. R stands for reduce your carb intake per meal. The A is address your emotional eating. Did you know that there are 12 reasons why we go into emotional overeating? I'll share 3 with you very quickly. The one is boredom. 2, we actually seek pleasure through food. And the third one, when we don't get what we want, that can trigger emotional eating. Those may or may not be your reasons. There are 8 more, which we don't have time to go into in this video, but I will share in video 3 how you can get more. So the R is reduce your carbs, the A is address your emotional eating, and the E is to eliminate your yo-yo dieting, because we know diets make you fat. I look forward to you joining me for video 3, where we're going to be looking at some of the symptoms as well as the supplements to help you reduce fat loss quickly, successfully. So before I share with you how you can access video 3, let me remind you of the kinds of foods that really are going to be fabulous for your body. They're going to help you with fat loss naturally. As you see, these are delicious, real food, whole food, fruits and vegetables. Nothing refined about these. These are the ones you want to eat more of. And I'll share more with you on the next video of how you can get more of this as well. So how do you access video 3? Very, very simply. Go to my website, to the contacts page. My website is ALIVE.vc. Click on the contacts page, email me, I want video 3 please. And I will email you the link so that you can access that information on the symptoms and supplements to support fat loss naturally. Thank you for joining me. I'm Deborah Rossouw of ALIVE.vc. I look forward to seeing you on video 3.